when I go into companies, I don't think I've ever and I quiz them, I test them on this. It's kind of a setup because I almost always know what the answer is going to be or the results. I have never been in an executive team where all of the executives, whether there's four of them or eight or 12 of them, where all of them gave remotely the same answer on the company's vision, mission, brand promise, core values, the annual priorities. Like, what are your priorities for this year? And so, as you know, Amy, if the executives aren't aligned on it, it doesn't get any better outside of the executive suite. And I wanted to, so I made a statement there. Any thoughts?
Well, we see this too. I see it across the board, especially even working in federal government and working in the media as well, is that if you can't articulate that, then your employees aren't going to be either. And so regardless of what you're communicating, you have to have funnels of information set up and push and pull. You're pushing information, they're pulling information, setting up listening platforms. Are you getting a sense from your communications team? What are people saying? What's their impression? Where are people on this topic? And so I think that's overlooked a lot, because it is so important that if you're only communicating once a year at an annual town hall, there's a lot of room for misinformation out there. And so early and often, especially in crisis communications, you have to know what people are saying. And I think really great leaders are on social media because that's where people are. What are people saying? What are they posting? What's in the comments? And getting a feel for how that even works. I see too many leaders not engaged at all. And so I have to ask, do you even really know what's going on in the real world? And even though it's a virtual world, it is the real world because that's what people are saying. So it's a listening post of sorts where you can really dial in your message because you heard so many things going on. And here's what I'm going to address based on that feedback loop and model.
Yeah, a couple things I want to peel back on that. First, going back to the Stoics, Aristotle said, nature abhors a vacuum. And as you know, when you open up that pickle jar, it's vacuum, the air goes in. The vacuum will be filled with air. And taken from a communications perspective, I've always glommed onto that. Nature, I tell my people, nature abhors a vacuum. If there's a vacuum of communications out there, it will get filled by other people with rumors, innuendo, incorrect, and next thing you know, your team is spun up on entire falsehoods. So as a leader, your job is to minimize, if not eliminate, vacuums. Any thoughts on that to amplify what you've already said?
Yes. Well, and it can't just be the communications team. It really is from a leadership as the voice of what it is. Now, communications teams like myself, and we can provide the guidance, but we should not be the ones to be the cheerleader. So the CEO is the coach and the leader, but the voice has to be coming from the people with the authorities and the approvals to say so. We're just the guiding the leadership. But I do feel that some leaders are afraid to get out front and afraid to tackle some of these misinformations. And they're focused on, the mission, of course, but really dialing that in and understanding where the vacuum comes from and why, and quickly with urgency put out any misinformation, but take to that as the most important task is understanding what people think, or these climate surveys and understanding the workforce. I do believe too that HR plays a role in that as well. So it's really kind of a trifecta: the leadership seat, the CEO, the HR, and then the communications department. We're kind of all working hand in hand, because I do feel that recruiting top talent requires an understanding of what we're communicating about the company. More and more, I'm hearing feedback that when people are applying for a job, they'll go and look up the company's social media and see what kind of voice do they have? What are they saying? What are the things they're talking about? Am I familiar enough with the CEO? Is that somebody who I want to work for? And so if he or she is not out front talking about things, an employee may not feel comfortable going and applying for that job. So now you've just lost out on top talent. And so it's kind of this three-way game of communicating that early and often, but then HR has to look at like retaining and then recruiting new top talent, which will make or break an organization.